good.
a normal conversation.
I think what something that's really interesting to me now is, not to get serious about this, like it has to go this way, but I'm so fascinated. Like on Saturday, I gave this talk for a group of 60 people who are entrepreneurs, and it was just fascinating. We did some meditations about visualizing themselves and feeling themselves in another light.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm just really interested how people shift their relationship to themselves.
Oh, that's good.
Because I've sort of realized that I spent probably 15 years, like my first 15, 20 years in yoga, sort of feeling that I was going to shift everything to the world, and I kind of got it backwards.
So when you say shift to the world, and we're just going to roll into this, and I'll record the intro after.
Okay, that sounds good.
So shift how?
Well,
You were going to have like this big revelation
yes, that like
to
there would be
change the world?
Yeah, there would be some great moment when I would suddenly feel peaceful, or I would suddenly get along with everybody perfectly, and I kept kind of like holding that as what enlightenment was. It was like something out there.
Mm-hmm. So do you think that the more that you learned in those years actually made it harder?
I do.
But not in a bad way. This always comes
way.
back to me, because growing up, my mom would say to me, Joe, the more you know, the harder life gets. And I remember, being this little kid and being like, what are you talking about? How could that be? If I know more, why is it going to get harder? Mm-hmm. But it makes so much sense now, because we've become more aware. Like, all those things that I really wanted to do, now I really realize how hard it actually is.
Yeah, that would be fitting. Yeah, I thought it was sort of, I think a teacher is such a difficult position to be in, because you're holding up teachings, but then to walk it and apply it to yourself in your personal life, it's sort of easy to do that in the studio, quite frankly. It's not as easy in your personal life.
Right.
And so I felt like my personal life was really, it was lacking. And I didn't know how to switch it back to myself until I closed my studio.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Wow.
Because then I didn't have to hold up so much. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I could actually be a civilian instead of a teacher.
So do you think that was more of your own mind, like putting the boundaries on, like you have to have this persona?
Yes.
Because you're the one with the keys opening the door, holding the space?
Yes. I think that was more at the time. Yeah. And then I also had, I had begun my practice by reading a lot of nice quotes and sharing a lot of my personal life and teaching from story, because I love to teach from story. But I just remember one student saying, you used to read more and you used to say more, and I was like, yeah, but what if I just want to be quiet? And what if they're coming because the product is X, Y, and Z? And what if I change that product? What if my teaching changes? Or do you know what I mean? So that was enlightening for me.
And it should change, though.
And it should change. And I think also once you do something for 10 years, it's okay to change,
Right.
So I think that was part of it. Really wanting to change.
So, I'm Joe Longo. This is Jennifer Schelter. This is 30 Days of Inspiration. And because I get to do this for myself, I get to start it however I want. And that's how we're going to start today. Jennifer is an artist, an author, a yogi. What else do you do?
A lot of things.
She has a beautiful tree in her yard.
I have a beautiful tree. I lead team buildings which is really amazing. Self-care for corporate teams. And I coach people one-on-one, and I lead retreats.
So I want to jump back into what you started with, talking with the entrepreneurs, because that sounds so interesting.
Yeah.
Was it for what, like an organization of entrepreneurs, like a
Yeah, it was for an
support group for entrepreneurs?
Right. It was actually for a day of. It's for Life Vantage, and it was for up and coming entrepreneurs and who are starting their own business. And it is just really amazing to me that if one is an entrepreneur, which essentially an artist is or a teacher is, that you really have to decide, okay, this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to serve other people. I'm going to support them. And the only way to really do that is to do it for yourself simultaneously. So I enjoy speaking to people who are trying to grow something, and they're definitive about that. That's exciting.
Yeah, it is. And it's so hard.
It's so challenging. I think that's why I love it, though, because of the challenge. Because if somebody has something at stake, well, that's really fun to be around.
Right.
But it's not just like, oh, let's just sit around and be peaceful. It's like there's something at stake. And so I think sharing and offering meditation and creative visualization is so powerful for entrepreneurs. I love offering that.
So how did they receive it?
They loved it, actually. We did an exercise where I had them visualize a time in their life when they succeeded in a way that surpassed their expectations. And I led them through a creative visualization, and then two very brave souls. And then I had them write after the visualization, and then they wrote down the scene and how they felt, and then they declared an I am from that as well. So this one woman read about giving birth and what it was like, and it sounded exactly like what it's like to birth a business. So I think it's interesting because so many people feel like they need to go to business school, and business school is great, but I also feel like there's a lot of things in our own lives that can apply and teach us how to run a business quite well.
Right.
Yeah.
It's good to, I guess, have an understanding
Yes.
on how to run a business.
Yes.
Like me, I had no clue. I just quit my job. I was like, I'm going to take pictures and figure this out. And I'm
Right.
still figuring it out.
Right.
It's been super fun. But I wish when I was in art school that there would have been some kind of class on anything about running a business or finding clients, managing clients. That would be great for art schools to actually start teaching artists, like how to survive as an artist. Because I know me, like I have this, like, and I'm a Pisces, so it's even worse. Like I have these huge lofty goals, like I'm going to do this and do that, and like this, I'm going to do this 30-day of inspiration project and talk to people. I'm doing it, yes. And I'm like, where did this come from? And how can I, like, not that it's about money, but is there a way to monetize it that I can keep going? Because now people are reaching out and like, I've gone through this struggle. It would be great to tell the story and to create images, which I would so love to do. But it's like, in my artist head, I'm like, yeah, I'll do it. And then in my like business world, how am I going to pay my bills and eat? That part of it. But yeah, it's tricky being an artist and figuring out how to be a businessman as well. Because they're, for most people, I think, two totally separate brains.
Yeah, they are separate brains. I think that's the part that I love to play with, quite frankly, because the business side is more yang. It's definitely more directive and specific and logistical and rational and all those great things. And then which is very quantifiable. It's specific and measurable. End of story. It's black and white. You either did it or you didn't do it. You know, so there's a sense of integrity, which a friend, Jennifer Richmond, was speaking about that on Saturday as well. She was saying that she had taken a leadership course, and this is true of myself. It's like every day or every week, and on Monday or Sunday, I write down all the things I'm going to do this week, and then it's like off to the races on Monday. But my sense of well-being and integrity relies on my word. When I say I'm going to do something, there's no boss like coming.
Right.
You know? So I think one thing that's really enlightening for me is that I'm the boss. And sometimes I hate me. Like, I hate my boss, you know?
I say that often. I'm like, no, I can't go. My boss will not let me.
My boss is pissing me off.
He's a creep sometimes.
And there's sort of the cliche that I hear on radio shows, you know, like, oh, my boss is a jerk. I'm like, yeah, run your own business and see what it's like.
Right.
But I like the integrity that running a business has taught me. I don't know if it's for everybody, but it certainly is a wake-up call.
Yes.
Because it makes you see everything through the lens of quantifiable and having those type of conversations. And I don't know, when I had my studio, a lot of people said they wanted to be on a percentage basis, but when push came to shove, they just want to get paid.
Right.
So anyway, I think it's interesting and fun to have accountability, and it's a little bit difficult, but I think it makes you have your ass on the line.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So, coaching. What's your background? How did all that happen? How did all this happen? From a yoga studio owner to author, painter, coach.
I think I'm really like a cross-training artist. I meet different mediums, feed. I have a very integrated practice. I'm also dyslexic, so I'm going to say the best thing about being dyslexic is that you make funky connections everywhere you go, and your brain wants to cross-pollinate. So my bonnet, my bees, my head is like, and then so it just makes me want to do different things. And I think mostly it's about full self-expression, because if one medium, like if I can get a message across that I'm interested in yoga, that's really important. But if yoga is not necessarily the best medium for something, well then memoir writing is, or poetry is, or maybe painting a painting is the better medium. You just don't know, and so it's really fun to play in the realm of creativity. So I became a coach because people, I'm the oldest child of 4, so I've always kind of been the leader by default. And I also just studied so much self-development, and I so love people, and I so love seeing them not suffering, and I don't like to suffer. So and then I had so much therapy and so many courses and so much healing of myself to do, that now I just share that experience best I can. But I always say I'm not a therapist or anything. I'm just very good at facilitating groups where people feel calm.
Nice.
Yeah.
When did the coaching start?
The coaching started when I had my studio, and people would ask for private yoga sessions, and then those yoga sessions would spill into meditation, and then meditation would spill into what's going on, and then people would just ask, what do you think about this, and this? And I'd say, well, let's sit and have that conversation. And instead of just sitting there, on my dime, I would just make it into a coaching session. Because I did go to, Wharton Small Business, and I did do a lot of self-development classes, and I did lots of soul searching to have a business. And so I just started advising, and also using things like, there's so many amazing people out there like Brian Tracy and I listen to just everybody to try to get some sense of direction. And then I would just pass that direction off to others or ask them. Mostly people just want to be asked the right questions and have like a space to work something through. Yeah.
Awesome. I love it how like things just evolve. You know, like they move, you know? It's like the progression happens.
Yeah. And then, you know, you realize that a lot of people aren't listened to. And once I took a landmark education class, and it was such a good class. It was about listening. And I'm still not very good listener. I mean, none of us are really trained in listening. But I realized that if somebody's being listened to and nobody's adding to their listening, they can, and I just mirror back what you say, there's a good chance you're going to get a lot of information about yourself.
Right.
So just simple things that whether I do it on a retreat and do partners listening and partners communication, or that's what I might do with a client, it just helps them feel and get themselves a little more.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. The last time we hung out, we talked a little bit about Gary Vaynerchuk.
Yes.
And
I love that guy.
Me too. He's great.
Really.
He is. He's got all of the energy. Don't know where it comes from.
Yeah.
But one of the things that he said once that really got me, he was like, I'm always listening and I'm always paying attention.
He is.
And even though you might think I'm looking you in the eyes, I'm looking to see what kind of sneakers you have on.
Right.
And what kind of shoes you're wearing and different things. And then how that like all incorporates in who you really are. And it was kind of this like really eye-opening thing. Because he really seems to have his like the pulse on everything. Whatever is happening, he knows that it's happening.
He does.
And it really made sense then, because it really was like he's always going,
Yeah.
but somehow part of his mind is always like right there paying attention to everything. It's amazing. So that listening, it really pays off if you can figure out how to do it.
I couldn't live at that pace, but I mean, I think also, you know, I think it's really interesting to live at the pace of your energy. And I'm more of an introvert. Some people think I'm an extrovert because I spend a lot of time in front of people, but really I'm kind of a nerd. I like to be by myself and quiet, and I'm pretty much of an introvert first, extrovert second. And but I think it's interesting because he's clearly that. Let's just put it that way. Like that his essence works in that environment, and I think it's so interesting to allow. It's taken a long time just to allow myself to be at my own speed, because I'm kind of sometimes I'm like that. But most times I don't know where my glasses are. I forget things. I don't know where I put my keys. I mean, I'm kind of more like, I think that Einstein used to forget things. And I'm not saying I'm Einstein, but my brain tends to sort of be floating in that poetic, how can I be in the universe thing, and I'm not Gary Vaynerchuk.
I mean, there's not. I don't know if there really is anyone else out there that is like him.
That's not my speed, but he's awesome, and I think it's so awesome because I work with so many people and they feel such pressure to go faster all the time, and so I'm sort of feel like I'm the power of slow. That's what I'm interested in.
Going slow.
Yeah, just sort of slower. Yeah, because I think I've spent like from 30 to 45 thinking I really needed to go faster. And that just wasn't helping me. Yeah.
I kind of feel I'm there. I always have to go. And then sometimes I feel guilty if I'm not going. And I think that comes back to being my own boss. Yeah, that I feel like I have to be going and going.
Right.
And going.
Right.
And if I stop or sit down, like, oh no, I should be doing something because I'm also my boss. You know? So I feel like I should be like...
As if he's going to come,
yeah,
hey, Joe,
exactly.
get back to work.
Right. Don't sit on the couch.
Right.
Like you should be upstairs editing or doing something or, you know, trying to always do something.
Right.
But that was one of the biggest struggles that I've had when I moved into this world, was actually stopping and slowing down. Because even at like 9 o'clock at night, I would feel like I should be doing something. If I'm not doing something, I'm not acting like I'm not working hard enough.
I think everybody, well, that's so interesting. Yeah, I think entrepreneurs or artists, I think we have to develop really, really good skills, and I am not there. Feel like I'm just still really learning how to create boundaries so that I don't, if I take my computer, because I know sometimes I like to write. I love to write. Well, sometimes if I'm writing, I know I'll take my notebook and I'll write in bed on Saturday mornings, because it's like, oh, I can sit there with my cup of coffee and I can write, and it's wonderful. But I'm aware that I don't want to do that all the time, because if I get in bed and my brain goes, oh, we're going to write, then I'm going to be thinking about that all the time. So I'm fascinated with mental health, and especially what happened with Kate Spade and Anthony Bourdain. I think it's pretty much a crisis, that how to handle the mind and how to train it as if it's fitness it's going to probably become more and more. I see that becoming more and more valuable.
Yeah.
Do you see that?
I do. So, with all of this technology that we're talking into, Will Smith has started, I don't know how much he does it, but vlogging more.
Okay.
And doing like fun little Instagram clips. And it's great, because I remember Will Smith was like, he's the Fresh Prince, and he's always going to be the Fresh Prince.
Right.
And that's like how he's presenting himself, because it's himself. Like, that character was really him.
Right.
But he's been, putting out these little videos, and one of them he was going scuba diving, and apparently tremendously afraid of the water and doing that. And when he got out, like, he just went off about like mental toughness, and it really comes down to like, if you can control your mind, you can control anything. But we have such a hard time because we let our mind just go rampant on us. And, all kinds of stories it'll come up with. Why is nobody liking my Instagram posts? Why is nobody liking my pictures? You know what I mean? They could then be like, because the algorithm isn't showing it to them. But in my mind, I'm like, they don't like my stuff. You know what I mean? Like,
so tough.
It's so hard that, and everyone, it feels like everyone is out there like, oh, well, here's my dinner. Here's what I'm doing. My life is great. But really, is it? And then when you start to, like, I think that's where a lot of people now are hitting that depression, where they're trying so hard to make it look like their life is amazing, so other people say their life is amazing, instead of just appreciating the life that they have. I mean, like, it's fucking amazing. Who cares if nobody's gonna hit the like button because of my chocolate cake? Like, they're just like, my life is great because I can eat a piece of chocolate cake. I don't care if you like it or not. But we've moved so far into the world of, is anybody gonna like what I put out?
So
and I
desperate.
think that's what
I find it like that. The whole idea of happiness being the goal is just, it's an impossible goal, because really, parents are dying, kids get ticks and lice, cats get hit by a car, somebody is missing. There's just so much loss and devastation at random times, and life is great. I mean, life is amazing, but come on, like, the richness of life, like, in terms of art, I mean, everything is beautiful because there's darkness. If this tree was just lit, it would be flat.
right.
I mean, because darkness lends itself to depth, and pain lends itself to beauty. I mean, and if we're just sort of like, hi, Joe, how are you? It's like, it's just too, I find it to be too much. And I almost have this radar now where I feel like, really, am I tapping into somebody's curated life? Have they actually now bought their curated life so much that they don't even know the difference anymore? And that's that's something that's happened in my lifetime, which is sort of weird.
Yeah.
But,
and I think my one good friend and I were talking about it the other day. It's almost like we've been taught that it's also not okay to be sad and to sit in your sadness. You know, that we can't, like when someone says, how are you? If you say, shitty day today, really feel like I can cry.
yeah.
Like, people just don't
They're
actually.
like, really?
Yeah, like, life
Maybe
is
you
great.
should get the Mindspace app. Oh, okay, thanks.
Right.
I mean, yeah, no, I agree with you, because if sad is unacceptable, then what is it? Then really you're dividing. You're saying that parts of yourself are not acceptable, and I really believe in that family parts therapy. That there are multiple parts of ourselves. There's the dark part. There's the shadow. There's the trickster.
Mm-hmm.
There's the shy person. There's the little boy inside of you. You know what I mean? There's all these parts of you.
Mm-hmm.
And there's the shameful self. There's the regretful self, and they all like that Disney movie. Did you see that Disney movie? I can't remember the name of it. Anyway, but it was all like the different parts of the little girl, and it showed it inside. But it's really important to know those parts, because sometimes I know in my past the fearful self is taking over too much.
Right.
You know, and it's not my fault, it's my default.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? And so it's like, now I just have to say, oh my God, I'm so much fear right now. And instead of pretending it wasn't there, I used to just suppress it and suppress it and suppress it.
Mm-hmm.
Now I'll just say to somebody, I'm really afraid right now, or I'm really sad right now. And I'd rather know my feeling state than suppress.
Yeah.
Because suppression, for me, creates depression, and I'd rather not be depressed.
Right. And a lot in my Kundalini classes that I teach, I tell people, I'm like, this is Kundalini yoga is pokes at you, provokes you, and elevates you.
Okay.
But it's meant to make you feel everything, not just the good and happy, but to feel all the feelings, which is also the sad as well.
Yeah.
And if we're not feeling the sad, how are we going to really feel the happy?
Right.
But we have to be able to allow ourselves to feel all of it, and then we can really start moving forward, however, making change or doing the things that you want to do. But if you're kind of just walking around not feeling, or suppressing, you know, because I don't want to feel that pain or that happiness or whatever.
Right.
It's like, I'm just going to push that down.
Yeah.
Eventually that's going to come back and kick you in the ass.
So, tell me about your book.
Tell me about this book you're writing.
Well, I'm writing a memoir called Some Beauty, and it is specifically my search, really, from having a difficult time learning. So I have a learning disability with dyslexia that wasn't diagnosed, and the repercussions also of searching for one's identity. And really the question being, what is beauty? And how I sort of searched for what the meaning was for years and years and years. So really, I guess as the saying goes, you're supposed to write the book that you're looking to read. So that's what this is.
Did you find beauty?
You know, it's still in a process, but yes, I have found beauty, and it's not what I expected, which is good.
My friend and teacher Jennifer Schelter. Have you heard of Jennifer?
Yeah, I have.
She has this wonderful, for a long time, she was on this kick, beauty hunting.
Okay.
So like you would go to her workshop and she'd be like, all right, go out and take pictures and just, you know.
Okay, that's beautiful.
Find the beauty all around
Yes.
you. Become a beauty hunter. And actually look and be like, oh wow, like, this is beautiful. Like the beauty really is all around. For as cheesy as it sounds, it really is. Like you can see the sky back there because it's kind of gray, but the sky in front of us that you cannot see is gorgeous. Like the blues and the whites with the greens. The beauty is all around.
Yeah, and all you have to do is just I mean, if you step outside with a camera or you step outside with a pencil and a pad, you start to look at where the lines are coming from and the patterns. Just mind-blowing. And then also to translate that inside, though, I guess the book, for me at least, is that all that translates to a sense of self-acceptance, because sort of this radical shifting of Mother Nature, and we have radical shifts that go on inside of us.
Mm-hmm.
And so to be able to rectify that is a big part of the book.
Right. Well, I was just going to say, it's so easy for me to sit here and be like, oh, well, that tree's beautiful, that tree's beautiful.
Right.
But if I need to look inside...
Hell no!
That'd been so hard to find that beauty. I know it's there, but like it's very easy for me to be like, that's beautiful and this is beautiful and that's all everywhere. But if someone was like, well, tell me what's beautiful about you, I'd be like,
What is beautiful about you, Jim?
Oh, all of the things.
All the things.
My gorgeous hair. I feathered it today.
My gorgeous scalp.
I'm very thankful that I have a nice head.
You do have a
for
nice
being
head.
a bald man. Because it would have sucked when my hair fell out and it was just like one of those weird, bumpy heads.
That would have been tough. I can only imagine what that was like. Yeah.
It was an experience.
Yeah.
So, some advice for people out there that want to find the beauty, find their bliss.
Yeah, I would say that's such a great question. Yeah, Joseph Campbell always said, follow your bliss. And I would say, follow what won't go away. Follow the thing that nags you. Whether it's taking a class on cooking, or you've always wanted to be a great tap dancer, or you wanted to go study tigers, or I sort of feel like we all have our little weird quirky things that we bury and we hope they go away, and some of us don't have things that we want specifically, and then those people think that there's something wrong with them because they don't have a vision. But I would just say, my advice would just be, go directly towards what it is you're curious about and what it is that won't leave you alone. Because I think there's something to be found there. I think there's definitely, like Joseph Campbell said, our future is in our rapture. That if we're truly in love with something, when I don't mean romantic love, I mean it's got us, and it's pulling us, and it's almost an obsession, then that is a type of rapture, and that's worthy of our life. Yeah.
It's like when have you seen Finding Joe? The wonderful little documentary about Joseph Campbell?
No, I haven't.
It's so good. It's great. It's put
seen
together
that.
Beautifully. But in that he says, I'm sure in all of his writings, when you're trying to find, because there are people that are like, I don't know what I'm passionate about. I'm not.
Yeah.
And he's like, if you think back to when you were a kid and you were doing something that you absolutely loved, and people would make fun of you and you would go cry in your room because they were making fun of you, look back at that, because that's probably where your passion lies. And because of the kids making fun, you started pushing it down. He's like, but if you go all the way back to what excited you when you were a little kid that people made fun of you for, that's probably where your passion's hiding.
Yes. It's usually hiding under some shame, and it's hiding under a conversation. If I was meant to do it, I would have done it, and I don't believe that.
Yeah.
I really believe that if somebody in their 50s or 60s or 40s or however old people are, it doesn't really, biologically, it doesn't matter, because it could have gotten suppressed by a wound. And then, when you get to a certain age, you can't keep it down anymore. You're like ready for that wound to heal. Or you're ready to open that door again and say, well, come on out.
Let it out. Let that passion out.
Let that
Let it
passion out. Or get around. My other thing would be to really get around people who do let it out and ask them how they did it. Because I think it's really important not to just be frustrated. I think it's good to use your creativity. Good is sort of not a very expressive word. It's essential to use creativity because it feels good.
Yes.
It feels good to make beautiful things and give them to people.
Yeah.
Like that's what I'm so excited about my book. I will have made it with my hands and my head and my body, and then I can give it to you. And that makes me excited. Yeah. Because then you're going to have a homemade little piece of artwork that I made.
I've been saying a lot through this project, like creativity for me is like a drug. And I get the biggest high in the world from making something and then putting it out there and giving it to people to hopefully it will inspire, uplift, make them look twice, make them think, make them do something. Hopefully. But that is like the best high in the world, to create it and then be like, take it for whatever it is. Maybe you like it, maybe you don't. But my job is not done.
Yeah, I think it's essential sort of self-esteem or self-confidence. For me, I'm learning how to cook, and that's really exciting to me, thanks to Purple Carrot, which is this amazing service that sends vegan food, and I get to cook it. But it's so amazing to make a delicious meal and be excited about the meal, and instead of just you know, like it's just really fun, I think, to learn and taste and smell and touch and feed yourself. And I think creativity is that eating, is that really magical eating of self-contentment, self-contenting.
Yes.
You know?
Self-contenting. That's a great word.
Self-contenting.
Well, thank you so much for taking your time to sit and chat with me. I really appreciate it. Thank you all for watching. I'm going to link a little meditation that we're going to record now that Jennifer's going to do for all of us. So make sure you click on that and watch that. Thank you so much for tuning in, for watching.